Good morning and welcome to Crusher Trading Live. This is your host, Will V. And today we're going to go over yesterday's setups and we'll talk about what's cooking for today. Let's start with Apple, as usual. Apple, another day of sideways trading. Apple has had some heavy support at the 100-day moving average. And so, let's see here. Yeah, there's a bounce right there at the 100-day. So if we can get below the 100-day, I think we got a nice move to the downside. However, I think there's other tickers that are better to watch, maybe like Tesla or Meta, and we'll get into those here in just a second. But really didn't have anything going on for Apple yesterday. And then if I go to what's happening, I'm just looking at this 100-day. If we can get a break below that 100-day on Apple, we can see a nice move to the downside on that. So, all right. AMD. AMD continues to be weak. And I know I said weeks ago, I probably should have bought puts on this, but, who knew that the market was going to sink as much as it has in the last month. But that would have been a really sweet short. However, I've been able to capitalize on other shorts, long swings like Meta and Microsoft over that time period. So we made out on those, but that has been a really good, if you did take a swing on AMD to the downside, that was a really good move. You can see I have this key level marked out here on the daily at 131.90, and we broke it. We retested it. Well, we broke it on the 10th of December, and then retested again on January 7th, and that's where we just had that continuation of the downside. You can see we have these nice steps right here going to the downside. So continued weakness on AMD. I don't really have any other levels other than the daily level right here, which I can put onto my charts here. Let me put this up here, which I have right in here, which we broke yesterday. And I'll talk about that here right now. So yesterday's setups, we see we have that key daily level. We had a nice bounce, which was at the crush it zone. So if you're playing the crush it zone strategy, this is why we keep track of the bigger time frame levels, so that when we get some confluence, when they line up really nice here with the these daily levels, we know we got a really good chance of making that move to the upside. Now we look at our entries here. Let me turn the candles off. I like to turn the candles off in the 10-second. Kind of gives me a good idea based on the moving averages here. So here's your crush it zone area right in here. We don't get into the trade until, let's see, do I got two levels in here? I do. Okay. Right here we get this cross. This is where I get my crossover on the 9 and the 20, right? The 9 crosses the 20. That's a starter position right there at the crush it zone. Once we get above the 50, I add to the position, and you can see from here we get a really decent move to the upside, 1.86%, which is $1.86. So not a bad move for AMD. It doesn't hold, but you get a highly predictive move right there off the crush it zone. So that was the setup for yesterday. We do get a retest, a little bit of a retest, but nothing worth talking about, I don't think. Here on the zero line at the wick zone, a little bit of a retest to the downside. It doesn't break below the 50 SMA on the 1, so we really don't have much of a play there. So, but at the end of the day, towards the end of the day, it does make that nice move to the downside off that zero line eventually. But we're done and gone by that time. All right, Microsoft. Once again, just putting these key levels in here. I have this daily level right in here, which we can probably move down right into here. And I'll apply that. And you can see yesterday we had a nice bounce off that key level. Microsoft sort of had a crush it zone trade. If this was the only ticker that you were watching, once again, you just come over to your 10-second right here and turn the candles off. And you just wait for your crossovers. So here is the crush it zone right in here. You can see everything is below the 50 SMA. We're trading below the 50 SMA. We get into that zone. We get above that 50 SMA. and we get a slow grind to the upside, a little bit choppy in the zone there, but eventually it does pull through and you get a nice move to the upside here. Okay. And there we talked about yesterday the 360. Here it breaks above the 360, get the retest, and it does get somewhat of a slower grind. So, but that's Microsoft. As far as the wick zone goes, I don't really have a retest either. It's just a straight flush down into the crusher zone and no retesting. So not going to really watch Microsoft today. It just moves with the market wherever the indices are going. Microsoft follows. I just keep it mostly up on my charts because I'm heavily invested long term into Microsoft. And I'll be looking possibly for some buys coming up here, depending on how far down we get. So in my long-term investment account, I'll just go back here and see kind of where things are at. So we are, when's the last time Microsoft was down at this price? Let's see if we can get this up. That's the 240. Let's put the daily up here. Actually, we'll put the weekly up. So we do have some major key levels here on Microsoft at 350-ish. So if we break below, now once again, I'm not going to day trade this or anything like that or swing trade it. But if we can get a break below this daily level here on the weekly, our next level is down here. Our next big level is at 365. So I would start to add to my position, my long-term position on Microsoft, if we get down to 365 and then down to 350, somewhere's in here. So this is going to be my magic add zone in my retirement account. So if I get in this area, I'll definitely be adding some stock into my account. I got, some cash just set aside in my IRA Roth that waiting to invest. Okay. So to me, that's a good investment there on Microsoft. They can get down that far. All right. Amazon had a decent crush it zone play. Let's see here. You do get into the crush it zone. So the question is do we get a retest? So what I like about this Amazon trade is we do get down. We have an impulsive move through the 5-minute ORB right here. This is not where I would generally get into this trade on these impulsive moves. I got to wait for a retest. And you can see when we get down to this crush it zone, this gives me good indication that we're going to move to the zero line. Because we have this nice impulsive move. We don't have any consolidation, no retesting in here. So when I get down to the crush it zone, that gives me good confirmation that I'm most likely going to get that move back up to the zero line to retest it and possibly to the downside, okay? So here's your break and your retest right here on the 5-minute ORB on Amazon, okay? You see how that sets up? So like I said, when you get down here, if you get this impulsive move and you haven't retested, even on the 10-second, and you get down to the crush it zone, to me, that is a good sign to enter into the trade because it's going to most likely come back and retest. And we can confirm this trade also by taking the candles out here. And we have our 9 rolling over the 20s, right? So here's your starter position. And then here's where you add, and then you finally get out up here at that zero line. So a quick move, probably not worth thousands of dollars, but definitely a decent setup for a quick move. And then if you wanted to take the retest off the ORB to the downside, there it is. Once again, a nice setup. You get your starter position right in here. You enter below the 50 SMA, and you take that down, and that is a much better move to the downside. Okay, so that is Amazon. Looking forward into Amazon. Once again, it's not going to be on my watch list. Everything is weak. You just got to pick the one you want to work. I do have this key level on Amazon down here at 200. So we're looking at the 200 level again on Amazon. There's probably a lot of stocks you could pick this morning and probably do just fine on. But this is not going to be number one on my watch list, okay? But now if we hit a crush it zone area on the top, if we get a pop and it's the only one that's hitting the crush it zone on the top for a move to the downside, we'll consider things, okay? So there's Amazon. Let's go into Meta. This is going to be on my watch list today. What I like about Meta is we are on the daily 50 SMA right here. So up here on the right-hand side. and I got these 2 levels marked out in here. So I'm looking for a couple different things. I want to pop and drop on this one also if it's going to break. Let's see here. But I will not, depending on how a thing's set up, if I get a crusher zone trade out here, I will not be afraid to take this for a move, a retest to the upside and then back down again. You just got to be quicker if you're going against the trend, okay? So I would be looking at something like, this pop at the crusher zone and then drop. Excuse me. Or, getting below this level here for the move to the downside. That's kind of what I'd be looking at here on Meta. Let me open this up here so we can see a little bit better. Yesterday, I thought we had a really good move off the crusher zone, and I have a nice move off of this key level right here. So if you go way up here on the hourly, we open this up just a little bit. You can see this is where we had this nice move, which also lined up with the crusher zone. So we just talked about this on Amazon too, right? Price moves down into the crusher zone, right? We break that 5-minute ORB. Now let's see if we have any consolidation in here. So go over here to the 1 minute, right? We do consolidate a little bit in here. Why is that doing that? Open this up just a little bit more in the 10-second. So here's our break. And here's a little bit of a consolidation. So, we get down into the crusher zone. I get this key level right here. This is pretty nice. We do come back to retest the wick zone right here. Get the VWAP in here also. So, to me, it's a good sign. This is probably was the best trade of the day yesterday. Coming off here, off this key level at 662.81, right here in the crusher zone. Okay. And if I go over here to the 10-second, you can see we kind of consolidate here for just a little bit. Where's your main entry here? You can do a couple different things. Bear with me. Obviously, because I play the crusher zone, I'm waiting for this break right in here over the 20. It's right at the 50. So once I get lift off here, this is kind of my entry into Meta for confirmation. Now, being that we have a separate level here at the 5-star, the crusher zone, I wouldn't be afraid to take a 1 contract position just to get it started. That's a really nice candle there on the 1. Let's see what the 10-second candle looks like here. Here it is. We get a nice push right here. So I wouldn't mind, taking a contract here. I actually missed this trade yesterday because my computer was acting up. So I didn't get this one here. And I think it was in Tesla. We'll talk about that one here in a second. But another trade here on Meta that I want to talk about, which was a really decent trade, was right up here at this daily level. And if I open up here, I have this daily level marked out. This pop and drop. This is what I was looking for also. Nice impulsive move to the upside, right at the open. And we hit this level here. We have this nice move to the downside. And this is where my computer froze up and I had to restart it. So this was the trade that I was looking for yesterday. This was the one that I wanted. And this would have been a really decent move to the downside, as you can see here. So that's why it's important to understand your levels in the higher time frames. They're not always 100% going to line up with the crusher zones, but if you have crusher zones in here, that just adds to the confirmation. But you play this long enough, you're going to see things like this, and you'll see your rejection points or your support points that are going to help you gain a little bit more confidence in taking these trades. Okay, so this was a really good trade. And once again, just like at your moving averages, you got your nice starter position in here. You can add to that trade. You get the break and retest the 50 SMA right in here. And you have that nice move to the downside. That's kind of also what you have here on the 5-minute too. Let's see here. It does break the 50 SMA in the 5. We get into the crusher zone. It does retest in this area on the wick zone. So I just talked about this. This should give you confidence at the crusher zone, because normally when you break this 5-minute ORB, you are going to get some kind of retest. And it's very confluent in here. You have the 50 SMA, you have VWAP, you have the wick zone. So you have a really nice possibility for a pullback. It gets a little choppy, but if this is your entry, if this is one that you're looking for, you have a about a $12 move throughout the day back down to the crush it zone. But definitely the better move for me on Meta yesterday was this move off this daily level at, when was this at? 681.30-ish. And once again, just knowing that we get to this crush it zone, knowing that it's going to have to come back and retest, gives me confidence in taking the crush it zone trade at that key level. Okay. Once again, going into today, I know, just on Meta, just to repeat here, is just looking for a break of this previous all-time high. I got a key level right in here at about 638.50. Maybe look for a pop and drop. We'd have to get this break below the 50 SMA also. So we'll see what kind of, action we get on this particular one. We are trading below the 50 SMA right now. So like I said, if we drop and then retest that area right in there, we should have a nice continuation of the downside. And it does open up a little bit. See where we would take that down to. My target definitely would be, let me open this up here, right in here. So we'll see if we can get a move down to 605. Yeah, that's almost $150 move on Meta to the downside. So I did have some swings on those that I'd closed out when we got to the 50. But so Meta definitely looks healthy. NVIDIA. NVIDIA, it went into the crush it zone, maybe a little bit ambiguous yesterday, but if you look into the crush it zone on the 10-second, we channel through the first crush it zone here, so we don't really have any kind of entries on NVIDIA yesterday in the crush it zone. Okay, let me pull the candles out of here. Looking for this 9 SMA over the 20, and we don't get that until down here at the 1.786. I don't generally play the 1.786, but you can. It does work sometimes. I mostly play in the crush it zone. So if I'm in the crush it zone here, I need some break and retesting going on here if I'm going to get that continuation of the high side. But there was already other tickers that were doing just fine and well in the crush it zone, so there was no need for me to check out NVIDIA. So there really was nothing there on NVIDIA for me. Let me turn the candles back on here quick. On this one, we'll see if we get any kind of wick zone or any kind of confirmation of the downside here on NVIDIA. Get rid of this here. Looking on the 10-second. We'll apply this here. And let's see if we have anything on the 10-second. Nothing really. So just straight down, which usually, like I said, if we get this straight impulsive move, we break it. If I get what I need at the crush it zone, there's a good chance for a retest at that 5-minute. On this particular day, yesterday, it did not set up. So you can't take the trade if it doesn't set up, right? So no go on NVIDIA. Tesla I took yesterday. And this one paid really good. If you held through it, I think it paid $620 on 6 contracts. And here it is. Let me just make this a little bit smaller here. Has a big wick zone. I don't like creating wick zones. The 5-minute ORB for me on these doji type candles, yeah, I don't really care for them all that much. I don't think anybody does. So yeah, on Tesla, basically the wick zone is in the crush it zone area there. Nice big wicks. So if I go over here to the 1, I'm sure I'm on the right day there. Get rid of some of this stuff in here. It's getting a little messy. So here we are in the crush it zone, a little bit of an overshoot. I'm looking at the 5-minute. I'm actually playing the 5 on here. And I got on this one here at 942 was my entry. So I'll go over to 942 here. Let's see. I might open this up. So this is my entry right in here. Basically, kind of in the crutches. I'm looking at the 5, and I think this was 940 was in here. So yeah, let's see. This was the 940 was right in here. So yeah, I was waiting for this to come up here, and as soon as we got the 5 minute got into the crutched zone with that body close there, I took a starter right here at the 9 crossover in the 20. Okay, 942 right there. And then added to that position quick in here, and then took that up and got out fairly quick on this one here, but on this break of the 360s. And I think I took my last trailer off at a move to the downside. As soon as the 9 broke the 20 here is where I got the rest of it out. So could have made much more, but that was a really good move. Those were like $160 per contract on the high side there. So that was definitely a good move on Tesla. Tesla's going to be my watch for the day. Looking for a pop and drop, pop and fade, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I got a swing on this one also. And I'm looking for the 260, 265. Here it is on, I have it marked half of the wick zone in here. I've been talking about this for days now. And I did trim half the position. So this is my move right here. So I will take most of my position off if we can get down here today. But I'll be looking for a little bit of a pop, maybe a retest of 200. Hopefully the crushed zone will line up on that pop, and we can take that to the downside on Tesla. So that will be number 1 on my watch, Tesla and Meta. And then once again, I kind of a side note, I'm not excited about Apple, but if we do break that 100 and it's showing some big weakness on that break, there's a lot of room to the downside on Apple. But like I said, that's not going to be number 1 on my watch list. So that's what I got for the day. Main watches, Tesla and Meta. Let me go over MSTR real quick. I know a lot of people are well, I guess I can't. I don't have it set up. So anyways, we got the market open here in about 30 minutes.